I'm fine though. I'm fine.
You got a little something in your throat, a little tingle?
No, I think I'm coming down with an illness. So let's get this podcast started.
Let's get it
Some
started.
Peril.
You sound like Krusty the Clown.
I've never felt this bad in my life, guys. Never.
Oh man! All right, today we're joined by Preston Sandlin of Home Inspection Carolina. They do home inspections. As surprising as Home Inspection Carolina, that doesn't give it away, I guess. Home inspections right here in York County, Charlotte, surrounding areas. They do. Anytime you're looking to buy or sell, invest in real estate, and you want to get your home inspected, these guys are the guys to give a call. They are also, well, not they, but Preston is also the host of the Successful Home Inspector podcast. Preston, welcome to the Jones Zone, man.
Well, thanks for having me. Everybody, Cootie Free. Is Cootie Free?
Yeah, I am. I can't
know
speak
we were.
for Brian.
Yeah, we were going to do it.
Shake my hand,
Oh,
man.
that's right. Yeah,
a little
I got
while
sick.
earlier, and I know that somebody was sick.
That was
I'm not
me.
sure.
That was
Oh, okay,
Chris,
okay.
and then my daughter was sick.
My whole house got hit. We all got knocked out, but
It's like a MASH unit.
yeah. Well, so that was a quick, brief introduction of who you are and what you do. But if you don't mind, just share a little bit of your personal story, some of your professional background, and then how you got started doing home inspections.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you. Well, I was originally a teacher. My wife, I came to
Whoa,
Charlotte.
whoa, 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 whoa.
Be a
Wow,
teacher?
no way.
I went to Winthrop for physical education. What was your major? Or
It
what was
was-
your education?
Well, I was business undergrad, and then I went back to school for elementary education.
Okay.
It was a master's program that I could get, and I graduated back in '91, early on, and there was a recession back then. I don't know if you guys remember, and I had a finance degree, which was basically worthless because all the savings and loans were going belly up. So anyway, I had always drove a school bus and taught swim lessons and managed a swimming pool. And all my parents were like, "Man, you're so good with teachers, with kids. Why don't you be a teacher?" And they had one class, that's sort of introductory, and I took it. Man, it was all girls.
Yeah.
There were like 3 dudes and 40 girls.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, man, all these classes are like this. I get off at 3 o'clock, and I, get my summers off. Man, that sounds like a pretty good deal to me. And about that time, Kindergarten Cop came out too.
Oh, yeah.
It's not a tumor.
You know what? When I was a kid and I watched that movie, there was a scene that scared the crap out of me. It was like he was dreaming and it was raining outside and the bad guy was out with the gun.
Oh yeah,
Remember that scene?
yeah.
Anyway, that
No, I remember.
That scared me for
I
some
remember.
reason.
I watched that movie a bunch of times. I thought I was Kindergarten Cop.
Now, is this here or where is this in Rock Hill area?
Yeah, well, Charlotte. I'm
Charlotte,
from Kernersville. I went to
Okay.
UNC Greensboro, so I came down to Charlotte to teach. And man, I'm from a small town, Kernersville, it's about the size of Rock Hill, but there is no Charlotte near.
Yeah.
So when I first came to Charlotte, I was like, man, this is a big town. I got lost every day, and I was ready to go back. I mean, I was like, as soon as my contract's up, I'm going back because I'm from a town where everywhere you go, you meet somebody you know. And but then I met my wife about halfway through the year. I'm still here,
Was she
23
teaching?
years later. Yeah, not the same school,
Okay.
but she was a teacher. But anyway, so what happened was my cousin owned a home inspection company and a pest control company, and I started working for him in the summers. And I had always enjoyed, I'll backtrack a little bit. When I grew up, man, I grew up in a trailer park. And I remember we got a house when I was about 7th or 8th grade, and it was like Christmas. I mean, we had been to different trailer parks, and there's nothing wrong with living in a trailer, but it, man. It's a stigma. And like we'd ride the bus, and you rode the bus, and it went through the neighborhood first, and then it went to the trailer park, and the trailer park kids knew who they were, and I was one of them. And I guess what I'm saying is, it was so exciting. We finally bought that house, and it was a small house, but it was a house, and I felt like finally we've arrived. But just so excited. I got to cut grass, I got to do all this stuff. And I just remember how exciting that was and how that felt. So that's why I love now what I do. I get to be a part of that. People buying a house for the first time. I mean, there for a while we were doing a program with House Charlotte. People have been in public housing their entire life. And they have this program to help them get out of public housing and buy their first house. I mean, man, you should see these people. And like they teach them different classes, and one of the things I teach is changing filters, just maintenance stuff. Make your house last, because people live in public housing. They have a maintenance person or whatever, and it's just very exciting. I mean, the American dream is to own a
Right.
house.
Yeah,
and,
totally.
Man, if you've never had one and you get it for the first time, there's just something about it.
Yeah, we like working with the first time home buyers as well. It's
Yeah.
a special moment for the clients and for everyone involved. So totally, I get it.
Absolutely. I mean, everybody buying a house is exciting.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it's the big thing. But if somebody's buying their first home, there's something special about that. I don't know.
Yeah. So you're working for your cousin,
Yep.
and then walk us through what happened next. So you're doing that in the summers, right?
Yeah,
Still
I was
teaching?
doing it in the summers, and he offered me making what I was making teaching, and I love teaching. It's just, teachers don't do it for the money.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
for sure. And I remember, I don't know. I'm a talker, so I could go like way deep with it, but I can remember the day I knew I wasn't going to teach anymore. I was in a meeting, and they told us, they said, there's middle, high, and low kids. And they said, we're not going to worry too much about the high kids because they're going to do well on the test anyway. Said, we can't do much with the low kids in the time that we have. We're going to focus all of our energy and resources towards the middle because that's where we're going to get the most movement on the test scores. That's essentially what was said in this meeting. And I was sitting there going, wait a minute. These ain't stocks. These are kids, man.
Right.
Yeah.
That sounds great for a stock portfolio. You're not going to challenge the high kids. These kids are going to get further behind. I was like, man, I can't do this anymore. So that's when I went into, my cousin offered me full time. So I worked for him about 3 years doing my own thing. And, eventually got all my licenses, pest control, wood destroy insect, which is do the termite inspection and home inspection and everything. And then started my own and slowly, hired more and more people. And here we are.
Yeah. So what year did you start Home Inspection Carolina? Do you remember?
I had a couple of incarnations. I had a couple of different partners, but Home Inspection Carolina itself was started in 2006.
What'd you get locked up for?
What? Incarnation. Yeah, incarcerations. Yeah.
Right.
Thanks.
Took me a second there. I was like,
A couple of incarnations. See I'm familiar with verbiage, and
Right.
incarnation didn't throw me for a loop. So but it confused you enough to actually ask.
I was like, what did he get arrested for?
Well, there was this thing with a fake ID when I was 19, but that was a long time ago.
I didn't actually have.
It only
a
lasted an hour.
Yeah.
Anyway,
All right. So when you left your cousins, you were a one-man shop,
correct.
and then now you've got several inspectors working for you, right? You're like a big team. I mean, can you talk about?
Yeah, it's kind of like
So
teaching
you're
again. I got like a bunch of kids. No, I'm just kidding. No, when I was a one-man shop, I started marketing and, trying to do a good job. I mean, obviously, like I said, people are buying their dream. They don't want this dream to be a nightmare, and it's a big investment. And it usually takes everybody can to buy that house, to reach. It's usually a reach for everybody. So, they don't want to move in there and have to have a new HVAC system or a new roof because they're just not prepared for that. So anyway, I was doing it, and I was getting to where I was doing 2-3 inspections every day, staying up late at night, 11, 12 at night, and my wife was like, you gotta do something. Because, you're not, I want my husband back, So eventually I started hiring people, hit and miss with a couple, but man, I think we have a really good group of guys now. They're really thorough, and they get it, man. They get it. It's like I said before, you're helping people with their dream. You get to be a small part of, just like you guys. You're helping people with most people's net worth is their house. Their biggest dream, best investment they ever made in their life is their house. And you get to be a small part of it. I mean, I think that's pretty exciting.
It's pretty fun. What are some things that you guys do for inspections? Like when someone says, I want to get a home inspection, what are some of the things that you guys do?
Sure. Well, it's broke down into 4 systems, basically, for the basics. And out of those 4 systems, there's 3 mechanical systems and 1 structural system. So you got the structural system, which is, the roof, the crawl space, the piers, and all that stuff. And then the 3 mechanical systems are the electrical system, the plumbing system, and the HVAC system. So those are the basics, nuts and bolts of every house. We're going to check out to make sure that it's operating, and the price that the person offers for that house is the price, the market price. Because if some of these things need to be repaired or replaced, obviously they either got to be replaced or a market adjustment for the price of the house. That sort of thing. Now, you go beyond the basics, and there's some ancillary inspections we do, like radon, testing for radon. That's really big in North Carolina this year, the CE. Also January is Radon Awareness Month. But we test for radon, termite inspections. Usually if you're getting a loan on the property, the lending institution is going to require a termite letter. You don't know what that is? That's a whole different tangent. Yeah. We can go down that rabbit hole. But termite, radon, pool inspections, a couple other things. We have a couple warranties and things like that.
What do you guys do for the pool inspections?
Well, depends on what type of pool it is.
If it holds water, it's good.
Yeah. No, there's there's different types of filters. Well, first of all, there's salt and chemical pool, and they're slightly different breakdown. And then from there, you've got a cartridge filter, a diatomaceous earth filter, and a sand filter. So it all kind of depends on what type of pool we're dealing with. Most popular, if you build a pool today, most popular is probably going to be salt water, because the salt, it's cheaper long run. If you think about it, because salt is, remember back from chemistry class, it's NaCl, so that
sodium chloride.
There you go. I learned that while I was in jail. I'm just kidding.
Breaking Bad days.
Yeah. I was doing meth there.
He was a teacher too.
Yeah,
that's right.
Tell us the real reason.
Yeah. But anyway, there's certain things that, so if you're inspecting a saltwater pool, you're going to inspect the cell. The cell is what breaks that salt down into the chlorine. On both systems, you're going to obviously inspect for leaks in the filtering system. How's the filter working? Is it clogged up? Is there a lot of pressure? That sort of thing. Are there any leaks? Now, also, if you got a diatomaceous earth or a sand filter, basically the way this thing works, if you think about a big cylinder full of sand, and you've got water coming in on the inside, right? And then it goes through the sand, and the sand filters it out, and it comes back out. Well, eventually, the mouth of it starts to get a buildup of stuff. Leaves, just dirt, stuff that's broke down. And as it gets a buildup, you get a higher pressure. Think about the air filter on your car. Right where that intake is, it gets dirtier and dirtier. So every so often, depending on how much use, you've got to backwash it, which basically rejambles that filter. It's basically like putting a new filter. But, if you don't, you'll see a pressure. Usually they have a pressure gauge, and it starts to go up. And once it gets up to a certain point, it's just not filtering the water properly. And obviously you're going to test, the skimmers and the main drain and the backwash and leaks and that sort of thing. I mean, I want to say a pool's complicated, but it's really simple. I mean, you've got a couple of intakes. You've got a skimmer, a main drain. You've got a pump, skimmer of some type, and then it's going back out. And, you might have a hot tub that has a variation if it's a separate motor or uses the same one, and then you got a heater if it has that and it goes back. I mean, it gets a little easy after a while because there's only so many variations it can have.
I got a pool. It's. Did you see it? It's frozen.
No. Oh, is it frozen?
It's the top level's frozen.
Do you have a freeze protect on it?
I don't know. I guess not.
Is it winterized? Hopefully.
What, the pool?
Yeah.
No.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Now the
get that situated before summer. I need a place.
I keep it on. Everything's going. The system's going good, and in the skimmer, everything's still moving like normal. So I think I'm okay.
Okay.
It's just
ice. Got a ice skating rink for.
Yeah, there's just some ice on the top. It's not completely frozen.
Set up a goal on each end.
Yeah. I never turned the pumps off at all because it's been so cold. I was just like, man, just keep them going.
Is it salt or is it?
No, it's chlorine.
Chlorine. Yeah. They're more likely to freeze. I mean, we've really got some cold weather.
Yeah, it's never done that before. It's just now there's patches of ice on top. I'm sure it'll be fine. Hopefully, when it gets a little warmer in the next few days. But
you'll know.
Yeah. I know.
You start seeing water running down your driveway.
Yeah. Oh, crap. Yeah. So let's talk about marketing a little bit, man.
Sure.
You're doing things that not many home inspectors are really doing. You've got first of all, you have a trademark look. So this is audio, so people can't see it. But what's your trademark look?
It's the crazy pants.
And what brought that on, man?
I lost a bet. No, no. I rolled up one day to. It's a long story, to pick up my buddy. I was in Y Guides, and I'm sitting there waiting on him. This dude gets out of the car from golf, I guess, and he's wearing these Rodney Dangerfield pants, and I'm looking at those things going, I'm getting ready to speak to like 100 people here in about a week. I need to get me a pair of those. And sure enough, I did. And I said, man, they either go to you're not gonna. It's like bipolar or something. I mean, you're gonna really like them, or you're gonna really hate them. And for the most part, most people like them.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the thing is, there's a lot of realtors out there. You guys got to do something different. And obviously you got to have the goods, the chops, the services. It's not just the, people always say, well, those pants don't make you better home inspector. You get that hate from
totally.
And I said, the pants will just get them to use me once.
Right.
But from there on, I've got to have the chops. You know what I mean? So I'm just trying to say, give me that one shot, and I'll show you that we do a good job. And it's not just about the pants, but if you can embarrass your kids along the way and be remembered.
Well, it's funny because they definitely do make an impression. Like when I've talked with other agents. In the KW office, everyone knows, even if it's the guy with the crazy pants, everybody knows who you're talking about if you bring up Preston. So.
Oh, well, thanks.
Yeah.
There's been days I just wasn't feeling it, and man, I was like, I'm just gonna wear some khakis today. And man, I walk into the office, people are like,
"What's wrong?
What's wrong, man? Are we not worthy of the pants? What's up? I mean, I bet you wore them for the other office, So it's a good time. Honestly, it's out of control too. My whole closet. I mean, you should see. I got one whole section of that closet, and my wife thought I was out of my mind the first time I ever wore them. But she's seen, because you'll get an email. Yeah, we want that guy with the crazy pants or whatever. So now she's like, "Hey, man, you need to go put on your crazy pants and go get us some business." So.
That's funny, man. And then the podcast. So you started the podcast. What inspired that? And then tell us a little bit about what the actual content is.
Well, thanks. And I admire that you guys got a podcast. I knew as soon as you said you got a podcast, but I bet you guys listen to podcasts too.
Yeah, no doubt.
I'm a big fan of podcasts. We talked in the pre-thing here. I think we had listened to a lot of the same ones. Big Gary Vee fan. And for any listeners out there, Gary Vaynerchuk, highly recommend, but turn it down if the kids are in the car.
Yeah.
He will drop some bombs. He will drop some bombs. But he's great on social media, and as he says, he tries to see where the puck's going before, and podcasts. I mean, here's the thing. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I love it. I mean, I get tired of driving around because, we go to a lot of appointments just like you guys, house to house,
Well, not like us, but other.
Successful real estate.
Yeah. I mean, windshield time. It's been a lot of windshield time. And, I can only listen to Born to Be Wild or I don't know all the new ones my kids know. But, I mean, I can, after I hear a song 3 times, I've heard it,
Yeah.
And I listen to talk radio, and that just makes you mad. So, and I used to listen to sports radio, and that just makes me mad.
Yeah.
So, especially after last night.
I know, man. That was a tough one. Dang.
But I love podcasts. I love listening to books, audible.com. I'm a big fan of that. But the great thing about podcasts is it's very up to date. And there's podcasts on almost everything that you want to listen to. And, I call it Windshield University, man. Classes in session.
Yeah.
And, it's cool. If I hadn't listened to one of my favorites for a while and I've seen they've dropped like 5 or 6 new shows, I can't wait for a road trip.
Yeah.
I'm driving to the beach. I'm like, but I got a whole bunch of, John Lee Dumas to listen to or something. So I look forward to it. And it's Windshield University. It's productive, making your time driving productive.
So other than Gary Vaynerchuk and Entrepreneur on Fire with John Lee Dumas, is there any other podcasts that you recommend the listeners to check out besides the Jones Zone?
Obviously, the Jones
Zone. The Jones Zone, absolutely, and the Successful Home Inspector podcast. Well, that's where I came. I was like, I wish there was a home inspector podcast, and there isn't one.
Right.
So I made it. But yeah, I like John Lee Dumas, Grant Cardone is a big one. Obviously Gary Vee, and also I love Joe Polish. What is it? I Love Marketing podcast. It's Joe Polish and Dean. I can't think of the other guy's name. Check it out though. It's got Dean something. He's a real estate agent down in Florida.
Okay.
And then Joe Polish does another one with Dan Sullivan called the 10X podcast, and that's really good. Now, granted, they're all trying to get you to join this coaching thing, which is like a lot of money, which I haven't done that, but you get a lot of value and gold nuggets out of there. I mean, I think the thing is, we listen to your show. I bet I pick up something. I'm driving down the car and I pick up 2 or 3 things I can use.
Tidbits,
Yeah, well, and not only that, but I get out of the car and I'm pumped about my business because we've been talking about business and hey, versus if I listen to news talk radio or something. Nothing against I'm on there, but it's all bleed that lead. I mean, you get out of there and they tell you all the things going wrong in the
Gloom
world.
and doom, yeah.
And there's nothing you can do about it. And you get out of the car depressed. And I've noticed it. I had to stop listening. I told my wife, I said, I can't listen to BT anymore. I got to listen. But when I listen to podcasts all day, I'm all happy about my business. I'm positive. I'm like, just change my whole outlook. So all you listeners out there, keep listening to the Jones Zone and tune in to the Successful Home Inspector podcast. They're almost as good as those other ones.
I actually stole Windshield University from you. I've heard you say that before. And somebody else was talking about the differences between, once you stop listening to music and started listening to Audible or podcasts. And I was like, yeah, man, my buddy calls it Windshield University. Which I stole from one of your episodes.
No, it's great. Well, Audible's great. I mean, like Audible.com. I mean, I think you can get. I was on the deal where it's $15 a month. I think it may be $20 now, but you get 2 books a month.
Yeah.
And I love Audible. Don't get me wrong, I love it. But the great thing about podcasts are they're very timely. I mean, by the time you listen to something in a book, especially if it's a social media type thing, by the time that book's come out, I mean that information's 6 months old. But Gary Vee or you guys drop something on a podcast like, hey, Google just did this new algorithm. It's very timely. You know what I mean?
Yeah. How has the marketing in your business changed over the years, like with all this new stuff? I mean, you got into the business they weren't doing all this.
Right,
what are some of the things that you've picked up along the way?
Great question. I mean, I started in the mid to late 90s. Back then, you just got business cards print up and you just went to the office. You drop your cards off. Hey, they call you. You come do an inspection. We come right and do it on a 3-part carbon report.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, no kidding. Just write it out and separate it. And there's one copy for you, one for the client, and one for me. Wow. Now, there is something to be said for the simplicity of that. I mean, that was great, but now nobody does carbon reports. Oh, and we started adding photos. We literally did the Polaroid one-step. I have them. I mean, you would literally take a picture, and I did that carbon report. I'd say, see picture 1. Then I would write on the Polaroid, picture 1, picture 2.
Goodness.
And boy, it was like $1 a shot. It was like $10 for a pack of 10, and if you got it out of focus or something. But that was state of the art.
Yeah.
And from there, we went to the digital Mavica, man. I was one of the first ones to have that. Remember the 3.5-inch floppy?
Yeah.
I still got 3 of these things. I'm going to have a museum one day. And that was like state of the art, man. Started doing digital reports. But obviously, it's way changed now. And, as far as the marketing goes, I'm sorry I got off a tangent there. You were actually asking about the marketing. It's gotten a lot more complex. I think the way we buy houses has changed. I don't think agents, back when I first started, almost every agent went in the office almost every day. Now it's like, because I go market those offices, I hit them with flyers. I mean, there's some boxes I'm like, I've been here 12 times since they've been here.
It's probably ours, yeah.
There's 12 of my flyers in there. Now, some still go to the offices, and I still love, to go to the, most real estate offices have weekly meetings, usually on Tuesday. I don't know why, it's always Tuesday. But, if you can get in front of them, do a lunch and learn, something like that, it's great. But I think the biggest change has been social media. You've got to have a presence on social media. And that's where people ask now. I mean, it's like, I do it. I mean, like, where's a good barbecue place? I put that on Facebook. I had 80 responses.
Yeah.
I mean, people are passionate about barbecue. But
yeah, totally. Yeah.
If somebody knows or has used something good, service, whether it be a real estate agent, a home inspector, they want to share. So,
what are some of the things you're doing on social media? You got Facebook and all these other platforms, and what are some of the stuff that you can do?
Awesome.
That you guys do.
Awesome. Well, can I share that? And then anybody who has a business out there,
yeah,
share it with me.
Absolutely.
If you have a business out there, what you want to do is just like it says, social. Be social. Think of it as like a big cocktail party. If you went to a cocktail party, think about it, or a Christmas party or something. I mean, let me tell you what not to do. If you went in there like, hey, man, who's your life insurance with? I think I could save you some money on that. I tell you what, come here. Let me look at your policy. I think I can save some money. And then you go over to somebody else and say, hey, I don't know about those dishes you got. I sell Tupperware. And I got a couple
Tupperware.
I got a couple samples out in the car. And hey, man, I'll show you. Pretty soon people will be like, who the hell invited that dude?
Yeah.
It's too salesy. It's sales breath, or I've heard it. Rubber dog breath or commission breath or whatever. I think what you want to do is just like being social. You want to be the person who adds value. And how do you add value? You're entertaining. You're useful. You bring knowledge, or you know, when people see you coming, like, oh yeah, man, I like that dude. You know, because in some way or another, when he comes or she comes and sits down, she adds value to the conversation. Funny or something, you know what I mean? But you know, that person that comes, you know, immediately like, hey, I work for Amway. You're just like, yeah, I got a thing. We gotta go. By the way, I was gonna go to lunch with these guys, but they're like decking out on me now. I got some Tupperware to call.
We know somebody that sells Tupperware. She does a great job, man.
Oh no, is she gonna?
No, it's fine. No.
You're gonna tell her, don't listen to this episode.
What are some common issues, especially here in the Carolinas, that you see? Because you do a bunch of home inspections,
Right.
Foundation issue. What are some common things here locally that you see all the time or very often?
Sure. Do you want to? I'm trying to break it into like major or minor things.
Well, Chris and I know firsthand the toilet seat issue. What's with these
It's
little
a rocket
toilets?
toilet.
Yeah, it's not the seat so much as
It's the
base.
loose ball, but
It's
yeah,
the
like
rocket toilet,
anything
yeah.
any common issue that you see that people should look out for when they're getting a home inspection.
Sure. I'll tell you what. I'll start at the top,
Okay.
the big ones, and then I'll just sort of work my way down to just a lot of common ones that you find that may not necessarily be a huge issue, but very common. The big ones, obviously, termites. Huge. I mean, we live in the South, and the further south you go, the worse the termites are. We have the eastern subterranean termites here, which they're not the real aggressive like the Formosan ones they have down in Georgia and Florida, but left unchecked over several years, they can do a lot of damage. So termites are a big deal. Drainage, water is a big deal. Make sure that the water is getting away from your foundation, because if you don't have good drainage around your house and water's piling up along beside your footer, under your crawl space, that footer is going to drop. You're going to get some cracking. You're going to get some structural issues. Also, if that moisture is under your house or getting trapped, you're going to get mold, wood rot. So moisture and termites by far number 1 and 2 as far as the damage that is caused. And the other big thing, we kind of alluded to this earlier, termites, you know, homeowners doesn't cover termite damage. Homeowners covers like your house is flooded, hit by lightning, catches on fire, all that sort of thing. But if it's got termite damage, they're looking at that like that was something that could have been prevented. You know, that wasn't an act of, you know, instant bad karma or whatever. You know, so that's why most lending institutions require a termite letter. You know, they obviously require insurance because if it burns down or gets hit by lightning, you know, they're out $200,000 if not, or you know, whatever it is. So that's why they require that. But those are the big things. Roof, structural issues are the big things. Now the common issue things, broken seals on windows all the time. Again, we live in the South. Those windows that actually face south have the most exposure to the sun, and you know we have those dual pane windows. Those seals break, and you'll see it foggy windows. Good news on that, most of those have a 10-year warranty. So if you've got a window that's 10 years old or less, it should be under warranty. That's real common. Air conditioning issues, you know, again, we live in the South. Keeps going back to that. If you've got a 2-story house, I can almost guarantee you the top floor, the air conditioner is going to go first because warm air rises, so the top unit's got to work a lot harder. I mean, I can almost bet on it when you walk around. There's even apartments, 3-story apartments, there's one new unit. That's the third floor.
Yeah.
And it usually is. But yeah, air conditioning, that's a big thing. You ever see the Freon line on the air conditioner? You'll see 2 lines. One's the big line with the insulation. That's the gas line because it expands it, and it's cold. You ever sprayed that Fix-A-Flat or the stuff on your computer to blow the
Oh yeah, it's cold. Yeah.
Because what's happening is you're going from liquid to gas. You're expanding, and that's what happens in an air conditioning. Same thing. It gets very cold and it blows air across it. That's why the air feels good. But because it's cold, it collects water and the condensation comes off of it. So what happens is they don't change their filter very often, which happens.
Yeah.
That drain gets clogged up, or it gets insulation or dog hair or something in, and then you see it overflow into that pan. There's a catch pan.
Yeah, the catch pan.
Yeah, that's really like a temporary. That's not your primary way it's supposed to drain. If you see that pan full of, and usually you'll see it come out to one of the windows. You'll see the little pipe.
Yeah.
That's basically, the way to think about that is like that donut spare tire you got.
Yeah.
That's just to protect you temporarily. If you see water coming out of there, your main line is clogged. You need to get that thing unclogged. And I can't tell you how many times I don't know if people just don't know it, but it's been going on so long. The pan has been rusting, and you could actually see the rust coming down the side of the building.
Oh,
I mean, I've literally almost gone up to people's houses and say, I know you don't know me, but it's a public service announcement.
You're about to have a big problem.
Yeah. When that pan fills up and goes through your seal, that's going to be bad. Get your primary line clogged. And that all goes back to people not changing their filters. And you know what? If you got rental houses, have somebody go change them. Renters never change their filters. But I don't know. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, that was a great question.
There's a ton of stuff. I mean, it's all maintenance type stuff. I mean,
You mentioned Radon earlier. Why don't you touch on that a little bit? And you know David, he Storm, he came on. He works with you guys, right?
Yep. David does inspections for us, and he has a different business. He does radon mitigation and puts in the mitigation systems. Radon is a colorless, odorless gas. The only way you're going to know it's there is to test for it. It's the breakdown of radioactive material in the earth, and it's everywhere. I mean, it's more prevalent in certain places, and it's also more prevalent in newer houses that are really energy tight. Because what happens is, you know how we said warm air rises? Well, think about this for a second. It's really cold today, right? You live in a house, the house is heated. Well, there's cold air pockets down in the ground. Cold air wants to wants to go to warm air. So it wants to rise. I mean, it basically sucks up into your house. So you need to test your house. If it's over 4 picocuries per liter, you're going to need mitigation, which is what David does. And
If it's over 4 Pikachus? If it's over 4 what? Picoliters?
Beanie Babies. Have you been playing that game? What is it?
Pokemon
Pokemon Go.
Yeah. My son went through a phase of that when it first came out. Man.
My kids did too.
I had to get him out of the house. I was glad it came out. I was like, all right, let's do it. Let's go out. Let's find some Pokemons.
Well, I was thinking, if you own a deli or something, how do I get a Pokemon here?
Yeah, somebody was doing that. I can't remember who. I think it was a gym or somebody had a Pokemon.
Now, they would want them, but if it was your private house, you'd be like, get that Pokemon out of my yard.
It might have been a restaurant or somewhere.
Yeah.
All right, so you mentioned educating your clients on giving them some basic maintenance tips. What are some of those that we can share with our audience?
Oh, absolutely. Well, can I give you a website too?
Yeah,
We've got a whole bunch. If you go to homeinspectioncarolina.com, go to Realtors Corner, but it's for everybody. There's home maintenance tips. There's also a pre-selling checklist. So basically, if you're a pre-inspection checklist. Yeah. So if you have a listing or it's getting ready to go through, we've got like 40 items that we check for there. Just a lot of drainage, gutter issues, leaks at the faucet. Just all that kind of stuff. You want to fill up all your basins, your sink and your tub, pull the plug, look underneath, see if there's any leaks, that sort of thing. Tells you about what your temperature differentials should be. Just a lot of common stuff. But yeah, go on there to a Realtors Corner on homeinspectioncarolina.com, and there's a whole bunch of checklists on there, and you're welcome to download them, print them out. If you guys anybody wants to use it, rebrand it to themselves, I'm perfectly fine with that.
Cool, man. All right, man. Well, dude, let's take a minute or so and just kind of wrap up. Take us home. Remind people who you are, what you do, and more importantly, how they can get in touch with you if they want to reach out to you.
Okay. Well, I am Preston Sandlin. I own Home Inspection Carolina. You can check out, is it all right to throw out my website?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Homeinspectioncarolina.com, and also on Facebook. We're always putting out tips and articles and stuff like that. We just want to be helpful. I mean, I want to give value. We talked about Gary Vaynerchuk. That's the big thing. You just always give value without, asking for it in return. I mean, if you give enough value into the world will give you value back.
Yeah, no doubt.
And it feels good.
Yeah.
It feels good. So anything I can ever do to help anybody, I certainly will. If anybody has any questions about their home or anything like that, please email me, and I'll try my best to answer it or find somebody who can.
All right. Well, Preston, thanks for coming on the Jones Zone, man. Pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
Sorry, no, that's cool. I'm trying to